Mickey Waldy said no, your mods need to know to answer questions.
Alright everybody, good evening. We'll wait a couple of minutes here for everybody to come on. Get started here in just a minute, just waiting for everybody to have a chance to get on the video here. Alright everybody, so we are back. We planned on being home right now and doing a little bit more of an extensive live stream like we talked about. And sorry for the poor audio. When we run our external audio, it's mono audio, and everybody with headphones gets really upset with me, and I mean really upset. So until I can figure out a way to split that mono into a stereo feed, we're just going to have to deal with it. It's like I said, I know the audio is terrible, but I really can't shout at the camera. I know the audio is kind of low over the road noise, but if I shout at the camera, I find myself getting really hoarse too fast. So I'm going to see if I can get that fixed, if possible. But we are headed to Iowa tonight. I think we're going to spend the night in Des Moines and be in position for tomorrow, because I think that we've got a pretty decent chance at seeing a storm or two tomorrow evening, late afternoon into evening. I don't know if it's going to be severe or not, but there could be a couple of storms in northeast Nebraska, southwest Iowa, maybe even northwest Iowa, up into southern Minnesota. So I'm not quite sure how it's going to pan out. It's a very low risk. I don't want anybody to be misled. Don't think that we're going into a tornado outbreak or anything, because we certainly are not. But we are on the way toward Dubuque, Iowa, and from there we'll head down I-80 and head into Des Moines. Like I said, I think Des Moines is a good place to spend the night. We could leave super early in the morning, but if we go to Des Moines tonight, that makes it a little bit more convenient in the morning if we do end up wanting to head farther to the southwest. There's that small possibility we might want to be in northeast Kansas tomorrow. So if that's the case, we'll appreciate being 3 hours closer. I don't know what this guy is doing. This guy has been driving 15 under the speed limit this whole way. And every time I go to pass him, he speeds way up, so I have no idea what this guy is doing. Hopefully everybody's doing okay today. We'll stay live until we get to Dubuque. That's kind of our usual stopping point when we get out. But I do think that we are making a return to the live storm chasing venue here. August was pretty quiet. I think September is going to be pretty quiet overall too, but I think tomorrow's kind of our one shot for the week, and then it looks like maybe after Tuesday we could be looking at stuff again. There's a lot of other YouTube channels saying that we're going to have a hurricane. No, we're not. We could have some hurricanes out in the Atlantic, but they're going to be fish storms. I don't think we're going to see anything impact the U.S. for quite a while yet. And thank you, Richard. Always appreciate super chats from folks like you. southwest Wisconsin here, trying to get to Dubuque. We're going 45 on a 55 again, and like I said, that's not even worth passing this guy. We'll try again in a minute, but last time I tried to pass him, he literally floored it the second I put my blinker on. So I have no idea what this guy is trying to accomplish here. There's like 8 cars behind us. But once we get past this guy, we'll make up some time here. So we'll be live for about another hour or so. What was the final super chat total? I don't know. I think it was like 2,600 or something. Something like that. I would have to go back and look. And sorry guys if I miss your chat messages, because in the vehicle here, when I take a glance over, it's really hard. My eyes don't adjust, so oftentimes I can't even read the chat. And honestly, the chat just goes by way too fast for me to keep up with it. We've got a lot of people on tonight, which is good. No complaints, but when the chat's really busy, it makes it almost impossible for me to read it. So if I do miss your comments, folks, please don't take it as me ignoring you. It's simply just I missed it. I do try to add that disclaimer because we've had some things in the past where people get pretty upset, but trust me, it's definitely not intentional. Again, I would probably expect a live stream tomorrow sometime after 3 p.m. We'll know more in the morning. It's entirely possible that tomorrow could just be not worth it at all. Now we're down to 39 miles an hour. What in the hell is this guy doing? Alright, we're going to pass this guy, and if he floors it, we're just going to floor it too. I think we can outrun his little sprinter van. This is ridiculous. There's like 8 cars behind us. He's drunk. Yeah, he very well could be intoxicated. That is usually a pretty high indicator of, God dang it, there's a car coming, of being an impaired driver is speeding up and slowing down a lot. A lot of people think it's lane changes, but it's not. It's usually speed variability. So trust me, I've been on this guy's bumper since I got out of my town about 20 minutes ago, and the driving has been awful. He's been in his lane, but it's been anywhere between 25 and 60 miles an hour. And like I said, if you go to pass him, he just floors it. So we need a good long stretch of road here, because when we go to pass him, I have a feeling it's going to take a minute, because he's probably going to floor it again. Yeah, it's probably a drunk driver. Wouldn't surprise me. But probably going to lose service here for a minute. All right, we're going down a hill, so. Nope, he's got his phone in his face. That explains it. I would expect a potential storm chase tomorrow. Again, potential, because it might not happen. It's a pretty low risk, but it's possible sometime after 3 p.m. tomorrow. HRRR model was showing a very broken line of very isolated cells in an area from Kansas all the way to southern Minnesota. But we have to be out here for everything, severe or not, because we can get some really photogenic storms on days when we don't even expect severe weather, so it's definitely worth coming out here. And I figured we would do our nightly live stream from the road here. We'll be live until we get to Dubuque, so we've got about another hour or so. Thanks everybody for joining me. lot of traffic tonight. Kind of rare for around here. Usually these roads are pretty quiet. But it seems later than it is, you know, being September now, it's getting dark out earlier, so. It was dark by 8 o'clock, Central, which I'm not used to. It seems like just the other day it was getting dark at about this time, so. I hate winter. To me, it's very depressing. I usually trigger a bunch of people when I say that, but it's too depressing. I hate it. So, but the closer we get to winter, the closer we get to spring, which is good. But speaking of the long term, like I said, I don't expect a whole lot of severe weather here over the next short term. We're kind of in the quiet season now. September, October seem to be relatively quiet usually. Honestly, it seems like December is kind of an active month for us, not only for snow, but for severe weather. Sometimes we get these big snowstorms, we'll get these severe weather events on the south side of them in the south. So we're definitely in the quiet season right now, so we got to make the most of it. We're going to have a busy month here. Looks like we're going to rewrap the car this month, hopefully pending funds availability. So that's going to put us out of service for a couple of days. We got to time it, make sure we don't have issues with a hurricane during the time that we do that, which I don't think we will. And honestly, guys, there's always the possibility that we don't have any U.S. landfalling hurricanes this year. It's always a possibility. It's unlikely based on climatology, but it's always a possibility. But I think we'll get one or two at some point here. It's just been a slow start. But don't let that fool you, because just because it's been a slow start doesn't mean it's going to be a slow finish. Still need to be ready just in case. Got about 70 degrees here, so it's a pretty nice day out. It was a nice day out here, actually. Is the tropical storm going to do anything or no? I guess the only tropical storm right now that I know of is way out in the Atlantic, and it's moving northeast, so I guess it would depend on what you mean by is it going to do anything. Like impact the U.S.? Absolutely not. Continue to be a tropical storm? Yeah, definitely. see what the SPC does. They had mentioned in an earlier update that they may need to go with a slight risk for some areas tomorrow, but they did not do that with the noon update. Interestingly enough, the 0Z HRRR doesn't really show anything tomorrow. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Very marginal day tomorrow. The earlier runs of like the HRRR tomorrow did show some initiation of some storms in a very marginal environment. I wonder if the NAM is going to show anything. Like I said, it's possible tomorrow is just absolutely nothing, so we'll have to wait and see. The NAM model does show some convective initiation in western Iowa around 3 p.m. So I'm not a big HRRR model fan, so we'll see what happens. Richard's in there with another super chat. Thank you as always. Yeah, I don't think your area is going to be too terrible impacted tomorrow. Heath has a super chat. Thanks, Heath. Heath is going to be working with us to redo the wrap on the car. But yeah, this is kind of the longest part of the drive. We're only about 20 minutes, well, half hour from my house, and this state highway is god-awful. It is so boring, but it's freshly paved. They actually just paved it resurfaced it like last week. It used to have potholes every 2 feet. HRRR hasn't been the best, yeah, HRRR hasn't been the best anywhere in my opinion. I think people just rely on it too much. But we will keep the stream on until we get to Dubuque. And and I'll go spend the night in Des Moines. Should be there by just before midnight. Well, maybe not. Yeah, it'd be about midnight. Composite reflectivity. Yeah, exactly. That's the thing with models, honestly. A lot of folks do just look at the composite reflectivity. Honestly, half the time that's what I do too. Like if I'm really busy and I just want to know, okay, is there going to be a storm or not? And you look at composite reflectivity, there you go. But a lot of amateur forecasters, well actually some professional forecasters too, have a real bad habit of just looking at composite reflectivity. That usually doesn't go so well. Got a little more work done on the car. There's another $1,000 down the drain, but it's done. Got some suspension work done so it doesn't bang around so much anymore. Took this car somewhere in Nebraska back in, I don't know if it was May or June. I think it was still May. I can't remember if it had the wrap on it or not. It did, so I think it was early June. And Nebraska Tire and Auto in North Platte sucks. They really suck. The front was banging around, so they put sway bar links. So they did a lot of stuff that they did not do, and then charged me for it. So I took it to somebody in town today and had those things replaced that they supposedly replaced, but didn't. And I'm gonna email them the invoice and be like, hey, what are you gonna do about this? So got them caught red-handed because the invoice they gave me in Nebraska has Moog part numbers and AC Delco part numbers, and there's Motorcraft parts on the car that they had to take off. So there's a big red flag right there, and also the fact there was a ton of rust on the parts was another dead giveaway. But now that these parts have actually been replaced, it's a miracle. It drives better. Kind of funny how that works. So we'll see if we can get our money back or not. Probably not. Usually you can't, but I hope they do the right thing and give the money back, because they screwed me out of about $600. And that was real stupid of them to do too, because if you're going to rip somebody off, you probably shouldn't rip off the people with the social media channels, like on the car. Like, I'm not saying that that's makes it right or wrong, but I mean, you shouldn't rip anybody off, but to rip off somebody that's got a YouTube channel on the side of their car is usually a bad idea, because they're going to figure out you got ripped off, and then they're going to say something, and then nobody's going to want to go there. So I don't know why they did that. They claimed that they put rear sway bar links and bushings on. They didn't. They claimed that they put front sway bar links on. They did not. Some other stuff too, and it's just frustrating. It really is. I don't know why people got to be like that. Rear sway bar links on this car were toast, and we all knew it, because anytime we'd hit a bump, it was just banging like crazy back there. But kind of an expensive part for this vehicle is like a $70 sway bar link, and that's cost. That's not retail. That's like actual discount cost at the parts store. So I was kind of surprised at that. guys. We're in southern Wisconsin. We're headed to Des Moines tonight. We're going to leave the live stream on until we get to Dubuque, Iowa here, right across the river. Yeah, it's hard to find a good repair shop. And I tell you hate to be that person, but it almost makes you have to, if you have to go to a shop or a dealership or something that you're not familiar with, and you hate to be the guy, but you almost have to ask for the replaced parts back. And like I said, I hate to have to be that guy, but I think the next time, if I ever, you know, break down somewhere and I have to take this somewhere, I think I'm going to tell them I want the parts back that they take off. And I hate to be that person, but you just can't trust anybody anymore. It's like the local Ford dealership in my town. And I'm a Ford person, like all I've ever owned is Ford. But our dealership is a big scam, and I wish they'd get shut down. They conveniently don't give out printouts of the alignment results, you know, when 99% of everybody else does. And the alignments are always garbage. You know, they say they do them and they don't. They told me that I needed new inner and outer tie rod ends when I had a truck go for an alignment once. And it's pretty funny that they said that, because I had just replaced the inner and outer tie rods. See, I didn't tell them that I did the work on it. I just told them that it had some new parts, and they told me that the inner tie rod was seized to the outer tie rod on both sides. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, buddy. I just put them on like 6 hours ago. And he goes, oh, they must be cross-threaded. So literally in their parking lot in front of their service bay door, I went under there with a big wrench and a channel lock pliers, and I broke the jam nut loose, and I started twisting the inner tie rod in the outer tie rod, and I literally walked back in there, took the service advisor outside, and I said, if it's so seized, then how in the living hell could I do it with a pair of channel locks and a small pipe wrench? Like, how is that even possible? He's like, oh, well, it must have been our mistake then. I'm like, yeah, it's real convenient, you know, trying to upsell on parts for an alignment. It's like, you gotta be kidding me, buddy. Like, their parts are brand new, and if I can bust it loose in the parking lot, your guy with an acetylene torch can definitely bust it loose on the alignment rack. So our Ford dealer is a scam. It's just horrid. So when you find a good shop, you've gotta remember that. Leave them a good review. There are some good Ford dealerships. It just seems like the ones in my area are awful. And it's not the price. I don't really complain about the price when getting a vehicle fixed, because, you know, it is what it is, especially when it's a small shop. But it's not the labor. The markup on some of the parts is a little ridiculous sometimes, but the labor rate, you know, you're around $100 or even over $100 an hour for labor rate. I mean, you got to remember, you got to give like $20-25 an hour to the tech. But I don't know. It's just in my area, there's like 3 or 4 Ford dealerships out of the like 5 that are just absolutely a ripoff. Like they intentionally do it. Like, they kind of run themselves like a Jiffy Lube, where they just rip people off. I specifically I had to take a vehicle to one of our other local Ford dealers once, because I was in a bind, and I needed the AC compressor replaced. I just didn't have a way to charge and discharge the, well, I mean, anybody can discharge the Freon, but I didn't have a way to charge the Freon. I didn't want to mess around with manifold gauges, whatever. So I took it in, and I specifically asked them to do absolutely nothing else, because we knew what else was wrong with the vehicle, and we were going to fix it. It was actually a company vehicle, and we were going to take care of it, but like, we just needed the AC compressor fixed first, and we were going to get to the other stuff. Well, they go through, and I specifically told them, and I literally even said on the work order, customer declines any other work. And we went to go pick it up, and it had an oil change, and they had rotated the tires, and they were trying to charge us for a coolant flush. And and they told me that the coolant flush was necessary to replace the AC compressor, and I asked them why. And they told me it's because that they had to remove the AC condenser, which usually sits up by the radiator, and then remove the radiator and do something else. They had to flush the coolant. And I'm like, why are you replacing removing the AC condenser to replace the compressor? Like, this compressor had not gone out. The compressor didn't lock up. Now, if the compressor locked up and spewed metal parts all over the internals of the AC lines, whatever, but the pulley was just starting to go bad. It was still functioning. But we just wanted to replace the whole thing. And they tried to charge us for all that. And they're like, well, but it needed to be done. I'm like, no, it didn't. Like, they're kind of scammy, and it's too bad. There's some pretty dishonest repair shops out there, but most of them are honest though. I mean, truly, most of them really are. There's just a couple bad apples out there. Where am I? Guys, I'm headed to Des Moines. We're going to be streaming for about another half an hour until we get to Dubuque. We're in southwest Wisconsin right now. But I'm just trying to fulfill the promise of daily live streams. Yeah, if I was going to buy a brand new car, I'd go buy a Toyota, honestly. Screw it. Toyota 4Runners are pretty nice. Honestly, anything Toyota. Even Toyota quality has gone down, but I'd go buy a Toyota. Heck with it. I mean, like, these Ford Explorers are junk. I mean, transmissions last about 5 minutes in them. Obviously, we had to have ours replaced. A lot of newer vehicles just are not very good, honestly. It's all about how you keep care of them, though, too. I know some people just don't take care of them like they should either. We're about to go through Hazel Green. Still 70 degrees, pretty nice night. A little bit humid though. But thank you though also everybody who's been supporting the channel. We've been doing video updates every single day for the past like almost 2 weeks for members, channel members. Trying to give out some more channel member benefits. We have probably a good batch of 3 or 4, maybe 5 more people's names that need to be stuck on the car. I got to get those printed out in the vinyl and put them on the back window for our some of our channel members. Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Oh, Drew is in there. Hey, Drew. Drew is I guess I don't know. Well, he works with Radar Omega. I was gonna call him like an official Radar Omega support person, but he works with Omega. So good to see Drew in there. Happened to catch that out of the corner of my eye. But no, everybody, I'm not storm chasing this second. We are actually almost to Dubuque, Iowa, and I'm headed out to Des Moines just in case we've got something to go after tomorrow. Some of the short-range, high-resolution models were indicating some isolated storms in West Iowa tomorrow, and you know, we just got to be out here for everything, because it seems like we catch the best content on the days that we're not expecting it. But there is something in this car right now that is squeaking, and it is really annoying me. It sounds like a piece of styrofoam or something, plastic rubbing. About had it. There's a lot of stuff in the back of this car, and it really needs to be all taken out and reorganized very badly, so everything squeaks. Part of the problem is too, I've got the back of the car is taken apart a little bit right now. So all the electronics, the router, the stuff for the cyclone port, all that stuff is behind a plastic panel in the back. Well, I took that panel off and brought all the guts out because we were messing around with the pan-tilt zoom camera on the roof for the cyclone port feed. And it was having some issues, and I think the issues was actually my router was having problems with it, but it's all IP based. I think that's fixed now, but I've been reluctant to put all that stuff back together just in case we have another problem, because it's a real pain to unbolt everything, unscrew everything, and take it all out. But the reason I have everything behind a plastic panel back there is I actually had to pipe air conditioning back there. Everything would overheat. The Wi-Fi router, the internet thing, the cyclone port thing never overheated, but everything else around it would overheat. So actually, this vehicle's got 2 vents in the back. They're in the ceiling, and they blow air from the AC down from the top of the ceiling. So I actually disconnected one of them and used some vacuum cleaner pipe and ran it through the headliner and down the side, and then basically we just blast AC into that compartment. Now the only problem is if I turn the heat on, we're blasting heat into that compartment. So I made it real easy. You can actually just pull the hose out. I just took a hole saw and cut like an 1.5 inch hole, and it just sticks in there. So in the winter, or if we're gonna know I'm gonna be running the heat, I gotta go back there and pull the hose out of there so we don't overheat everything. But without that air conditioning running back there, everything would overheat, and it became a real problem real quick. Real problem real quick. And it seems like every month we add more back there. You know, it started off with one thing, and then it was another, and then it was another. Now there's a lot back there. There's the cell phone booster, there's the Wi-Fi router, there's the cellular modem, there's like an SDI switcher back there that's actually not in use, but there's a wireless HDMI transmitter back there, the Cyclone port thing, and then there is there's a it's a 750 or an 800 watt inverter back there, and it's all in that one panel, and there's not much room, so it gets super hot in there. But having the AC going in there, it's fine. Experimenting when it was cool. Basically, as long as it's not over like 70 degrees out there and the sun's not blasting down on the car, if the AC is not running, it's fine. It's just it gets really, really hot when the car's been sitting outside in the sun, so we have to have something to cool it. Yeah, we could put a valve in it. We definitely could put a valve in it. That wouldn't be that big of a deal to do. We might have to do that because, well, honestly, what we're probably going to have to do eventually is I thought about piping fresh air through there also. Maybe running a tube with a filter, like a cabin air filter down, like under the tail light or something, and drawing in with a fan some air from outside and then passing it through and then exhausting it. That would be another option also. In the winter, though, usually what I do, because I carry bottles of water and stuff, so I don't have to take all that out, I'll just run I have an electric blanket, and I wrap everything in the back, electric blanket on the floor, and then it comes up on the sides of the compartment, and then I just throw it over the top, and then that runs off the inverter. I've got 2 batteries in the car. One is isolated from the other with a charge guard, so if one goes dead, the other one should cut off and still be okay, so you can start the car with the other one. But there's one battery in the back, and it's vented to the outside, and then there's obviously one under the hood. They're the same battery, bought them at the same time. Group 65, they're big batteries. But the problem is, I can only run that electric blanket even on a low setting at just enough to keep everything back there from freezing. I can only run it for about 12 hours before the charge guard gets upset and it cuts it off and cuts off one of the batteries, and then cuts off the inverter. It never used to be a problem because I had a place where we lived. It was not an apartment, so I could just plug in with an extension cord. I would just plug the blanket in with an extension cord instead. But where we live now, I have to run it with the inverter. So we may have to put a remote start on the car and actually just plan on starting it every now and then. But even at home, when it's super cold out, I usually am in the car. I usually drive it at least once a day, so it's not usually that big of a problem. Because just running the car for 45 minutes is enough to get enough juice in the batteries. But if everything freezes back there, it's not that big of a deal, but it's just easier to keep everything from freezing. So that's the problem with having all this stuff in the car, is it's really tough to climate control a lot of it. Like the computer gets super hot. You know, I have to run the AC in the car. Sometimes, you know, like if I go into a Walmart, I actually got some flack for this on a live stream, and it's not, some folks were saying, well, one person was saying I didn't care about the environment, but that's not true. I do give a crap about the environment. Like I'm trying to not pollute the environment, but Unfortunately, to keep everything cool, if it's really hot, like when it's 90 something degrees, if I go into Walmart for 20 minutes, half hour, I actually have to keep the car running. So I'll lock the doors. I've got a relay on here so I can push a button, take the key out, and so if somebody busts the window and if they like try to put it in drive, it'll actually shut the motor off. But so I'll lock the doors, put the windows up, take the key out, and I just got to leave the air running because the camera, the computer, and all this stuff will just overheat. So it's got to run pretty much 24/7, and that's why so much wear and tear gets put on these vehicles, because it's, especially in the summer, it's running like 24/7. In the winter, it's not so bad because, like, even if I'm just spending the day somewhere covering a winter storm, and I want to take, you know, a 7 or 8 hour break in the car, I only have to run the car for like 20 minutes, maybe 3 or 4 times in that 8 hour period, and it'll stay nice and warm. Keeping it warmer is a lot easier than keeping it cool. No, Eric, this one had pretty low idle hours. I think it was only at like 1,800 idle hours, which is pretty low for these. But no, that's the thing too. You know, you go buy these fleet vehicles and you know have no idea how long they've been idled or driven. Period. But yeah, that's part of the reason I wanted to buy this one. It had pretty low. Well, the miles were kind of high, but it had pretty low idle hours on it, which is good. This one's been taken pretty good care of, knock on wood, but I mean, before me, the maintenance records were really good. They were changing the oil every 4,500, 5,000 miles, and had a lot of parts replaced, which is always good. Should get a bed in this car. I actually can sleep in, well, I used to be able to, so these Ford Explorers are just coincidentally the same size as like a twin size air mattress, so if I would put the seats down, like fold them down, you can actually blow up an air mattress in the back seats and then in the back, you know, so it would take that hole up. But now with all the stuff in the back, I can't do that. So what I'm actually going to do is remove one of the back seats, you know, because it's a 60-40 split. So I'm going to remove the smaller seat and leave the bigger bench. I'm going to remove the smaller one, and we're going to build like a flat extension of the back cargo floor. So it'll be like a, you know, it'll extend it. So all the stuff's going to be on the passenger side. So if I want to take a nap in here or something, like during hurricanes, we can do it just on the driver's side, and then we'll just have to get some foam pads or something. So I do need to work on that, because there are some times when you're storm chasing when you cannot get to a hotel. Like, you just physically can't, like you're in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, you've got to spend the night in your car sometimes. I can't, I guess, apparently, I just assume that when people slept in their cars, they slept in the back seat, but everybody's like, oh, I sleep in the front. And I'm like, I don't know how you do that. I mean, my back seat's pretty comfortable. I can do it. I try not to, but there's some nights when I do, and there's actually some times when I prefer to just, like, stop and sleep in the car. For example, if we're chasing and it's really late at night, and it's like 2 in the morning, and it's an hour to a hotel, like, I don't want to drive another hour. I just want to stop and sleep. You're at college and someone broke into your apartment twice. Well, that's really a terrible time. That sounds awful. Alright folks, we're coming into Dubuque right now. We're about to cross the river, so we're going to go ahead and end the stream. The streaming pack is running completely on batteries right now. I try to cycle the batteries on it every now and then, you know, run them down because it's good for them. And that's what I'm doing right now. So it's actually almost dead anyway. And no, I actually fit in the back seat. These cars have a lot of room on the inside. These Explorers are, they're bigger on the inside than they look. There's a lot of room in here. But thanks everybody. We will be live again tomorrow at some point. I hope it's a storm chase. If it's not, whatever. As usual, if we are storm chasing tomorrow, you can follow the location with real-time weather data in the Radar Omega app. that is what we use when we're chasing. That's the radar data that's actually shown on the YouTube stream when we're chasing. That is data from the app. And of course we do use that in the car as well for multiple things. And the cyclone port data is live in there also, which is temperature, humidity, dew point, wind direction, pressure, all sorts of stuff. You can view it. It's updated every 5 seconds or so. Now if we get into an area where there's bad service, it doesn't update as frequently, but for the most part it's almost real time. So take care, everyone. Thanks for the super chatters. Thanks for the new viewers, new subscribers, new channel members. Hope everybody has an excellent night. And we just crossed into Iowa. So take care, and we'll have some sort of a live stream tomorrow. YouTube members, I'm going to have the daily video. I'm going to have that updated earlier tomorrow since we actually have a chance for a storm chase. And then I'll actually put some text and stuff in the YouTube community for everybody else, and on Twitter and Facebook with an update on what the plans are. So take care, everyone, and have a good night.